Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to share a lesson from my online course Successful Lace Knitting. We're going to specifically be looking at the sewn cast off today. Successful Lace Knitting course includes lessons on 4 different cast offs, or a stretchy to varying degrees, and today I'm going to talk about the sewn cast off. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. My name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. You'll find all my social media links and links to sign up to my newsletter and links to the Successful Lace Knitting course below this video. If you have any questions, please ask below this video. In this lesson, we're going to look at the sewn cast off, which I was surprised at how much this one actually stretched. So this one stretched to 18 centimeters, which is the same as the Russian cast off. This is the kind of cast off that you can make slightly tighter and slightly looser. So when I did this on this little sample, I did make sure I did it quite loosely. There are times when I use this cast off when I pull it a little bit too tight. I mainly use this cast off for the top of toe-up socks, and I kind of keep an eye on the cast off as I'm casting off, just to make sure it's not too tight, because it is easy to get it too tight if you just pull the yarn too tight. But this one is really nice and stretchy, and I do like the look of it. It is a very attractive cast off. This time I've used it with garter stitch. It looks quite good with rib. I haven't actually used it on a pure kind of lace shawl project. I've used it around the hem of a top-down hat, around the top of a fingerless glove, and that kind of thing. So with this one, you actually want a sewing needle or a tapestry needle. So I'm using this one with quite a big loop on the end here to thread the yarn through. And you want to break your yarn, and you want to leave quite a long tail. So I used to say that the tail should be 4 times the length of your cast on. I find that makes the tail too long. So now I tend to wrap the yarn around my hand, once around my hand for every 10 stitches roughly, and I find that is a little bit more useful. But you want to have a long tail. It's better that the tail is longer rather than shorter. So you want to thread the yarn onto your sewing needle. Hold the knitting needle in your left hand and your sewing needle in the right hand. It's a 2-step process that you keep repeating. So to start with, you want to go into the first 2 stitches purlwise. So you take your sewing needle into the first 2 stitches purlwise, pull the yarn all the way through, but leave those 2 stitches on your knitting needle. So you do not take any stitches off your knitting needle. Then you take your sewing needle and you go into the very first stitch knitwise. So you put your needle in as if you're going to knit. You take that stitch off the knitting needle, and then you pull the yarn all the way through. So you've now cast off 1 stitch. You go into the very first 2 stitches purlwise with your sewing needle. So sewing needle into the very first 2 stitches purlwise. Leave those 2 stitches on your knitting needle and pull the yarn all the way through. Go into the very first stitch knitwise. Take that stitch off the knitting needle and pull the yarn all the way through. Go into the very first 2 stitches purlwise with your sewing needle. Pull the yarn all the way through. Leave those 2 stitches on the knitting needle. Go into the very first stitch knitwise. Take it off the knitting needle and pull the yarn all the way through. So you go into the very first 2 stitches purlwise, pull the yarn all the way through, leave them on the knitting needle, go into the very first stitch knitwise with your sewing needle, take the stitch off and pull the yarn all the way through. Now how tight or loose your cast on will depend on how much you pull the yarn each time. So if I take the needle in through the first 2 stitches purlwise, leave them on the knitting needle, sewing needle in through the first stitch knitwise, take it off the knitting needle and pull the yarn. If I kind of pull it tight at that point, my cast off will be tighter. So first 2 stitches purlwise, leave them on the knitting needle, first stitch knitwise, take it off. First 2 stitches purlwise, leave them on the knitting needle, first stitch knitwise, and take it off. So I'm pulling the yarn a bit tighter now, so you can see that it's a little bit tighter than the beginning. This probably isn't enough to show it, but if you cast on maybe a few more stitches, like 20 stitches, 40 stitches, do half where you try and make it slightly looser, and then do half where you try and make it slightly tighter. So how tight or loose you end up doing it depends on how much you pull the working yarn when you've slipped the stitch off. I tend to just pull the yarn so it kind of closes up and not pull it tight. When you have 2 stitches left on your knitting needle, so you've gone into both stitches purlwise, you've gone back into the first stitch knitwise, you have those 2 stitches left in your knitting needle, you can then just take your knitting needle out. So you've been into both purlwise, you've gone into the first one knitwise, take your left needle out because both those stitches are secure. If you have any questions, just ask below this video. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Let me know if you tried the Sewn cast off. I use it a lot for the top of toe up socks. So when I knit the socks from the toe up, when you get to the top of the leg, you have to cast off. And I find a regular cast off is too tight. I won't be able to pull the sock past my heel. So I do use the Sewn cast off mostly for that. But I also like to use it around necklines specifically. If I pick up and knit the neckline after I finish the sweater, and sometimes I will also use it around the wrist and hems of top-down sweaters, because it is a semi-stretchy cast off. It's not super stretchy, but it is a very good cast off to have in your repertoire. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, leave them below this video. You can also find links to all my social media and how to sign up to my newsletter and to the Successful Lace Knitting online course below this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.